exhilarating. Enthusiast.
Welcome to tonight's coverage of GridVision Superspeedways, where we race in a pack. Tonight, we look to see how the top drivers fare out from iRacing's virtual Talladega Superspeedway, and look to see how they fare out with the Gen 6 cars here on GridVision. Good evening, everyone. I'm Justin Prince alongside the booth tonight. Brian Britt with Austin John Bichard producing. Get ready for a very hot Talladega surface. Tonight should be an interesting one once more. It's the Gen 6 cars back on the rotation, Brian. And in turn, we look to see how the drivers fare out at the 2.66 mile Dega.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. And you talked about it being hot, 117 degrees right now, trackside. So we'll have to see how that affects the handling of the race cars. Of course, looks like wind's not too bad, though. We'll have to see how that affects tire wear for sure. Looks like everybody's starting to get into qualifying. No one has set a time. Well, it looks like a couple people have set some times here so far. We'll have to see. But how this plays out, how big qualifying position is going to be. Of course, we haven't seen this car at this track in quite some time. We have seen the Gen 6s at Atlanta, the new super speedway variation of that racetrack. But of course, Talladega, always a fun one. Of course, different than the next gen quite a bit, though.
As we get ready to race here at Talladega in turn, keep in mind speeds expected to reach around 200 plus miles an hour when it comes to the Gen 6 car. When we raced at Atlanta, the speeds reached about 180 miles an hour, although that was a 1.5 mile circuit to be able to build up the said speed. In turn, with that track temperature expect to be slippery, although partly cloudy skies could see that shuffle a fair bit as the night progresses. Also keep in mind, not that humid, so not a major impact at least for the motor temps. But in regards to the championship battle, so far the king of points racing, Craig Yancic, he's the points leader coming into tonight, but it was in a heartbreaking fashion for Sean Bounty. Bounty in position to win last week before things boiled over in the end at Daytona. 8 points between Yancic and Bounty entering tonight, though, is the bright side. Also on a slight bright side, Faison Shia, after that, still picked up 5 spots in the points. Although it was, again, in very interesting circumstances at Daytona.
Yeah, it was very controversial. I got to say, it was very, very controversial. Of course, Faison able to capitalize on the points. I know we saw a lot of drama last week, and could that spill over here to Talladega? I think it's very possible that some drivers might not be willing to work with others. I've heard rumors some guys maybe wanting to treat others like they got the plague. We'll have to see if that's going to be the case. This is, in a lot of ways, a racetrack where you have to rely on help from others.
Keep in mind, in that regard, Bobby Mantle, a part of Faison Shia and Chad McGilling's grouping, not here tonight. Here's a look at what's coming up entering tonight. Of course, tonight's Monday, but tomorrow it's Twin Ring Motegi for the Champion Series at 9 p.m. Then SSRL Truck Series from Kansas. Who will be able to get the victory in Kansas City? We'll see. And then, oh boy, it's a triple of Martinsville. NIS Open. How many cautions will we have? Will the over-under be 20 or 100? Or, well, things boil over on Sunday. We'll see with GRL and RGR. Of note, the SOF race this week for C Fixed at Martinsville was somewhere around double digits in cautions in a race with 4 different real-world drivers from NASCAR competition, Brian. At least we're not the paperclip with the series.
That's true. I appreciate you definitely such an optimist. I mean, I got to call that NIS race on Friday. I'm so looking forward to it.
In regards to tonight, qualifying already come to a completion. How about 2 1,000ths the difference? Sean Bounty for Rebel Racing over Craig Yancic. Then Faison Shia, he's up to 3rd for tonight's starting order. Timothy Babcock in 4th. Then Mark McFadden and Randy Posty are drivers setting qualifying times. Smart Grid this evening with Chad McGinley next. Jonathan Platt followed by Matthew Kleinschmidt, Michael Little, and James Self. How they'll slot up for tonight's festivities. So as we get ready to go, once again, tonight's distance, 65 laps with the Gen 6 cars. There is a stage for points at lap 30, but fuel runs expected to go to up to lap 45. In turn, what are your keys to victory tonight with a big chance if you're one of the contenders for the championship to gain points, to say the least?
Well, with this small field, it's going to be a lot harder to gain points as well. So I think it's going to be about, staying up front. And, of course, finishing this race. I think that's going to be one of the big things. Of course, we only have one fashion pair available to this field. So I suspect there's going to be some guys that are not going to make it to the end of the 65 laps. I mean, once that fashion pair is done, you're probably going to be done if you get in another accident. Most of the time, the speeds that you're hitting here, you talked about it, almost 200 mile an hour, can be over 200 mile an hour if you're in the draft. If you have contact with the wall at those speeds, that's race over.
Keep in mind, there is a faster pair available. But of course, with this package, one of the main things with when this package came out, the current one on the Gen 6 car, I should say, there was a very, very difficult thing people had to pick up on fast. If you went side by side, there was a high chance of side draft. Talladega could be where it's really amplified if you tried the second line.
Yeah, that's definitely, yeah, for sure. I'm curious to see how this, I mean, these things have some really big spoilers on them as well. So we'll have to see if that's going to play a result or, you know, play any sort of effect on these race cars as everybody is rolling. Pace car lights are out. Looks like we're getting ready to get the action started here at Talladega. 2.66 miles of high-octane action. And I think it's going to definitely not disappoint here. As, of course, Sean Bounty and Craig Ganzak line up, controlling both roles.
We're currently dealing with a technical issue. We apologize for that. But as we get set to go, here's what we will do. We will treat this as a radial style to begin today's action as we work to get back to the live pictures. How that essentially works is, for those who don't know, if you've listened to MRN, you've heard of radial style. Brian will work on the back straightaway. I'll be calling on to the front straightaway as we get forward for tonight's festivities. Again, we apologize for the technical difficulty, but as we gather things together here, getting gathered up. Your quick thoughts, Brian, as they make their way through 3 and 4 and head towards that front.
Well, I think my quick thoughts are going to be, do these guys survive turn 1? We'll have to wait and see if that's going to be the case. Of course, the drama, could it spill over here to Talladega? Sean Bounty going to be a sitting duck. It looks like somebody backing off a little bit here, possibly get a run on this start. Pace car is getting ready to take that left turn down pit road.
Looks we've got feeds back in place. We're just about in place for the start of tonight's festivities. We're glad to have you with us for GridVision Superspeedways. 11 entries here tonight from Talladega. It's Bounty, it's Yancek on the front row. Your championship contenders look to duke it out already. Green flag is out. We're racing from Tega.
A lot of wiggles going on from these drivers in this field. You see Fayon Schick kind of moving all around there on that bottom line. This car was so very vulnerable when it came to the draft. I'd say the air that moves around kind of, I think, affects these cars a lot more than other vehicles. Very nimble these race cars are. As you can see, the top line kind of disintegrating. Craig Ganzak, who started up there on the outside pole, is falling back quickly as Sean Bounty leads down the backstretch.
Already trying to gather up. Yancek not getting any help. Babcock the same. Randy Post already at risk of losing the draft, cutting back. But that's something we already discussed. You need to get single file and fast here. And already a chance for the top 4 to try and break away. It's in the league, Sean Bounty. Keep in mind, he did, or rather some of his competitors did say, if you're on your own or at the front of the field, it could be up to a 5-lap difference on fuel burn. Up to 35 on your own.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Of course, with these spoilers being so large, I think that might play a role in the fuel consumption, considering that those spoilers drag through the air and cause a lot of fuel consumption, extra fuel consumption. As we're looking off the front end, of course, of Mark McFadden sitting there in that third place position. Now, one good thing about these race cars that are unlike the next gen is it's a lot easier to catch up in the draft in these race cars in the next gen. Next gen, you fall back a half a second, you're probably going to lose the draft. In this race car, not so much.
Right now, Yancek is getting some momentum actually on the top line. That might be one of the ways we just seen there from the 3. If you can pull back your driver next to you and leapfrog. Here's a good example. You pull back McFadden on the side draft. Get away with the side draft, get some momentum built up. If you can get it to work, congratulations, you pulled off the Dale Jr. If you don't, congratulations, you're in the sucker hole.
Yeah, he just got left hanging high and dry. I mean, he made a good move. If he had probably just stayed in line, he would have been okay. But unfortunately, he jumped out and got greedy and thought he was going to make another move like that. Unfortunately, it did not work. As, of course, I do believe Chad McGinley takes that spot from him. As it looks like the top line once again disintegrating. I think that's the 43 with Jonathan Platt up there all by himself. He's going to fall all the way to the rear.
Drivers testing things out here. Most drivers on the bottom. Randy Post, he got shuffled up to the top just now. And it's almost like a conveyor belt that's starting to build up with some of these drivers where you shuffle them out of line, they get shuffled all the way to the back. You find someone at least willing to help you, you can do something. After all, no side draft on the 4 cars on the top side. They're given enough space to prevent that side draft from being a factor.
One thing about this car that's different than the next gen as well is the next gen takes bumps a lot better than this race car does. This thing gets a little bit squirrely when you get to pushing on the rear end. And of course, you can see a lot of the reason that is because when you get really close to the rear end, you're taking a lot of the air off of the back of that race car. But look at the top side, starting to really surge ahead. Craig Yanzak, who started on the outside pole, really scooting now with the help of Michael Little. Down the backstretch, he has got the lead. Both of them are clear, and they are going over 200 mile an hour right now. Even this is a 550 package horsepower race car, and they're booking it right now.
Remember, usually the target when it came to the Gen 6 car was to be around this point, around the 200-mile mark at the most, maybe 197. So these drivers able to go as high as 204 if they line it up on the bumpers. A bit of a bump checks up the bottom. And now up to the lead for the first time, it's Michael Little from 10th to 1st already in this race. And remember, Little made his first start of the season last time out. He finished in the top 10 in his debut, albeit in the 10th position.
And look at how much they're wiggling. I mean, wow. You see Little goes down to the bottom. I think South did not want him to come with him, but unfortunately he had no choice but to push him. Little, of course, able to block that run from South as you see Yanzak switching lines, moves to the middle lane along with Sean Boundy. Those guys have been working really well together here as of late. Seems like they've definitely made quick friends, that's for sure, as they switch lanes. And there goes a big move to the top there, I do believe, from Little.
Little now trying to play the blocks. Nearly got hooked by Yanzak. Running a lap 7 of this one. Jonathan Platt already back up to second on the outside row. And
there goes Little.
The field.
Oh,
Big
and that's...
one.
Oh,
wow.
That is a lot of cars involved in that. You see Sean Bounty heavily damaged out of that. Nothing really he could do. That's just a bad block gone wrong from Michael Little. Unfortunate.
I don't think that has anything to do with the block by the second turn. It's more so, why are you bump drafting all the way to the corner at a car that doesn't bump draft in the corner?
That's true. Probably has a lot. Yep, it could very well be that. We see Craig Yanzak's on the 93's rear end right here. I think you're right. He was pushing in the corner and just got the 93 way too wiggly, and Yanzak was able to get away unscathed. I mean, he didn't have anything go wrong in that situation for him. But a lot of other people are going to be using fashion pairs as a result of that accident. That was massive. Of course, you can push in the corners in the next gen, but not this car, as you alluded to.
And that damaged a lot of drivers. Mandatory repairs for South only. Pretty clear, in the bumper for a good fair bit of time. By the time it gets off center, around they go, and there goes half the field, at least head on into the incident.
Yeah. They'd be lucky if they can make it back to pit road to use that fast pair. Ugh.
If they elect to use it early. Sean Bounty amongst those who got some of the worst damage to the front nose from this. Here's the listen.
I mean, he couldn't even see this coming. I mean, he just was minding his own business on the top line, and all of a sudden, it just, Little just shot up in front of him.
And as a result, drivers coming down to the pit lane. Monso's catching up Colloquy Platt. So outside of your top 5, fair bit of drivers with damage. Drivers with clean cars, it's easier to count. McGinley, McFadden, Yanzak, Sheath. Everybody else was in it.
Yeah, I'm hoping some drivers just learned a valuable lesson. don't push in the corners. I think that is if that lesson's not learned, I don't know what they're going to do here, because I mean that was a costly mistake from Yanzak getting into the rear end a little through that corner, and if we do that again, there's going to be some drivers that are going to be out of this race after that.
Now, of note, most of the field has taken a faster pair. The only drivers not to take it appears here: Randy Post, Jonathan Platt, and Matthew Kleinschmidt. Michael Little, despite getting hooked in front of the field, he took 2 tires, and he's still the leader from all this.
Well, I mean, I guess that worked out for him. Looks like he did take the faster pair, though, at least. So I would say if he didn't, that would be crazy. But I mean, looks like his car is in fairly good shape. But 2 tires, I mean, that's something that's not a bad idea at a track like this. I mean, I don't see too big of an issue with that. But with how hot it is, I mean, it could maybe change his handling a little bit. I'm not sure.
Again, working under caution here on GridVision, coming up to lap 10 as they get ready for the restart. Why don't we go for a side-by-side here as they pace around here at one of the longest tracks for pace laps. You're watching GridVision here for GridVision Superspeedways.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to GridVision Superspeedways, where we spend Mondays in a pack. Coming up to the restart, as we look to see how these drivers respond after the big one. Strikes early in this one, not even a sixth of the way through. Michael Little, as a result of strategy, is the leader. Sean Bounty, Craig Yancek, Timothy Babcock, the top 4. Then it's Sheath and McFadden, the top 6. Of note, 3 drivers did not take faster pairs: Kleinschmidt, Post, and Platt. They're at the back of this grid for the upcoming restart. Green flag's out. Let's see how they respond this time. It's still a one-stopper likely to get to the end. Most of the field is outside the window by about 10 laps or so.
Michael Little jumping up to the top. Of course, I do believe to possibly help out Bounty here. He might be a little bit upset with Yanzak. I'm not exactly sure. But it looks like Bounty's going to get right up to the back bumper just fine. Now, talked about drivers that have some damage still that did not use the fast pair. That is Randy Post. You can tell he is very much hurt, very much in danger of, I think, losing the draft here as he falls back.
Already getting very feisty at the front of that pack. You see the 3 damaged drivers at the back. Babcock trying to push forward Michael Little all throughout the lines. Sean Bounty left alone on the top side. Outside of that, staying 2x2 in the background for the time being as Platt looks to test out how his car functions in drafts.
Yeah, of course, Platt was one of the last drivers to pit. He stayed on pit road for quite some time, almost did not make it up to the pack in time, but of course was trying to fix as much damage as he could without using that fast repair. As it looks like bottom line right now is in control with Timothy Babcock pushing Michael Little. Of course, Craig Ganzak following behind these two. Sean Bounty is on the top, of course, being pushed by Mark McFadden at the moment.
See that right now, and here's again the tough part. They're running 199 up there, but that inside line is again the shorter distance around. They're going quicker in terms of the positioning on track despite being 2 miles an hour slower in the corners. It's that straight line speed, or if you don't get side drafted on back, where that top line can be dangerous.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, and it's kind of interesting. But I do see Sean Bounty starting to build up some momentum. I think this is because Babcock is not really pushing Little as hard as he possibly could here. Some of that could be possibly due to, it looks like Babcock thought about jumping up in front of Bounty. Did not have time to be able to do it, though, but he definitely thought about it. But one thing I think that could be leading to that top line starting to surge ahead as well could even be temperature in the engines. This car was always something that that was something you always had to keep an eye on, was temperature in the Gen 6.
And keep in mind, this is still a car that doesn't have a fixed tape percentage, so to speak. It is something that, at least on the setup front, that can be adjusted to a precise number. It's not as simple as qual configuration, race configuration, and then that's it on your tape strategy. Well, it's not as big of a factor for a series like this, but you get the point. There's a lot more flexibility for a setup builder for a car like this, for a series like this.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Big run from the high. Oh, big wiggles, though, as Babcock tries to avoid getting into the rear end of the 93 of Little, and that gives the top line a huge run. Mark McFadden and Sean Bounty to the 1-2 position right now, and they leave James South all by he lonesome up there on the top. He's going to have to hope he gets some help. It looks like Ganzak thinking about maybe, nope, he thought about helping him, but I think he had decided against it.
So a massive check up there in the back straightaway. Craig Jansek, significant damage. Timothy Babcock, destroyed back bumper. Bad damage for Faison Chia's front nose from all of it. So a fair amount of drivers now with significant aero damage. The rest of the run at least. Here comes Michael Little with the run meanwhile, trying to get around McFadden for second. And Bounty has no help for the lead.
That's definitely curious. I didn't realize it was that big of a contact in that whole deal.
Oh, Babcock is all over the track.
Almost lost it. That was almost going to be a big deal right there, but he kept it together. Shea, I think, gave him quite a bit of room to kind of catch that, so good on him. As Little, of course, jumps down to the bottom in front of Bounty.
Timothy Babcock trying to hold on for dear life right now. He did take 4 tires for those curious. Shea and Little took 2. So did Mark McFadden. And Babcock trying to block 2 lanes at once. Shea thought about trying to force a 3rd line, nowhere to take it.
This is definitely some exciting racing right here. You can just tell that the different momentums, that's what these guys are having to manage so much, is whenever they're jumping between the lines. One line's moving faster than the other, and that could cause issues. But Mike Little right now in control has been doing a fantastic job maintaining that bottom groove.
See how it's shuffling back. Keep in mind, Chad McGinley staying committed to working with his teammate in the midst of all this. And there is some communication on the radio trying to figure out who's waiting on back, who's trying to play patience, who's trying to keep it to the back, who's trying to get to the front, because I know there's not a lot of cars in this race tonight, per se, with 11 entries, but it is a talking point. Do you want to be at the front or the back of this?
Well, also, I think what's holding that top line up is it changes, actually. Babcock has got front end damage. Like, if you look at the right front, of that vehicle. That is what's slowing that top line down, I do believe, as he falls into the pack. And yeah, he is definitely slowing a lot of drivers down right now. As we see Chad McGinley, he's going to be filing back to the back. Looks like maybe some guys as well nervous about the front of the field.
I don't know what that says when you have the field as it is right now, but it does speak volumes for the rest of the season if everybody's nervous. Imagine if there was 110 cars.
Well, I mean, thinking about last week, I mean, who doesn't blame him for being nervous? I'd be nervous too.
It is a car that can be nerve-wracking to ride in. By the way, Kleinsmith, he's trying to run side-by-side for fourth with the help of Babcock. James Self, meanwhile, he's one of the few with a clean car up here, and I'm not sure if he's trying to run top or bottom.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks like he's trying to play both lanes, I guess, to see what can happen. But all three of these, well, I mean, I should say South is clean, but Kleinsmith and Babcock both have some damage on those race cars. You see Kleinsmith getting incredibly close to Janzak, kind of trying to side draft him. Janzak comes up, gets close as well. And I think we possibly have seen, I think Chad McGinley and company have lost a draft now.
But the side-by-side could be their one saving grace trying to get around Janzak. They did lose ground about a second and a half nearly. But the more side-by-side from the three on back, the more they have a small chance to keep up here. Right now, these drivers are running 48.8s. The lead pack is matching those times, so they just need somebody to pull somebody back as a bridge.
Yeah, no, for sure. And a lot of times, I mean, no matter what car you're kind of riding in, Gen 6, next gen, it doesn't matter. It seems like 3 or 4 cars is probably the perfect number. Any more than that usually complicates things and kind of can slow you down. Too many variables in one pack can kind of slow you down. So if those 4 can be of one mind, they definitely have a chance to reel this pack in.
By the way, McGinley, Sheath, and company are within a second now of that pack, so they have maintained a whiff of the draft as a result. That second line trying to get around Janzak and Kleinsmith. Now, that's not to say that doesn't break things up even more and splinters it. The top 3 with clean cars is starting to run away because the side draft is slowing some of those drivers in the pack down by about a few miles an hour once they get close enough to each other.
No, that's definitely a very good point. I mean, we're seeing Michael Little, Sean Boundy, and Mark McFadden. They were starting to split up. But here comes Kleinsmith. I think he's got the draft, as well as Craig Janzak. Everybody now single filing out. They shouldn't have any issue here. Of course, as well, McGinley has caught up to the rear, as well as Faison Sheikh. One bad thing, though, is Jonathan Platt and Post have both lost the draft, I do believe.
And those were the 2 with damage. So they are not quick enough to be able to keep up. Those drivers maxing out 190. Ooh. Trouble in the main pack. Mark McFadden shoved under the line. Car kept clean, though. We stay green as he pushed off the bottom right on the nose of Matthew Kleinsmith.
Yeah, taking a look back at this here, you see right there, I think another issue of possibly pushing in the corner again. Oh, just wasn't square coming out of turn 2. Luckily, Kleinsmith gave him time to save it. Really good heads-up driving there from the 59 to be able to kind of just cut him some slack. It's like, come on, just got to let him save it.
So we're under 10 laps to go in this stage, by the way. Right now, the only driver not in line for points, technically, would be Randy Post. That's not to say that some drivers are looking to scramble that. Self and Babcock, after all, are the ones most aggressive on trying to get a second line to go here. The problem is, they don't have the numbers, it looks like, to get that line to go forward all the way.
Yeah, I think, well, Janzak thinking probably about doing it. I'll tell you, Yanzak's probably going to want to try to jump up in front of Bounty because Bounty needs points. Bounty, after last race, has kind of increased the deficit to get up to, or should I say, the gap in between him and Yanzak. Yanzak being the points leader, so Bounty needs to get some points over Yanzak, and Yanzak probably doesn't want that to happen. So wouldn't be surprised to see him trying to work with somebody else to get around Bounty for the stage end.
Here's a look on board with Sean Bounty. Right now, keeping it around 8,500 on the RPM band. And you see just how much it even slips in the corners as a result of the turn angle and how much time and speed, rather, is shed in the corner. It's very quick how much it bounces back, though, even in the midst of the trap with this car.
Yeah, this is definitely a great car for these super speedway style races. I miss this car quite a bit. You know, it was fun on the mile and a halves, in my opinion. It's fun on these super speedways. The next gen, don't get me wrong, good car, but I love this car. I miss it. Missed it. I hated it when they retired it.
Still, the top line nowhere to go. Of note, Platt and Post have now lost 10 seconds to this group. And one of the main things that was discussed when I was talking with Platt and company was one of the goals from Randy Post was as long as Platt doesn't put it in the fence, we'll be all right. Well, Randy Post has had a very hard time even keeping the bump straight, unfortunately, for the 54. In turn, they'll need a caution to get back in this again. James Self now trying to pull Kleinsmith back. This is for 5th.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to get that caution, but it seems like these guys are definitely being very, very easy and gentle at the moment. I haven't seen a whole lot of crazy bonsai moves like we've seen in previous races here in this series. You know what I think that is? The reason that is because Austin Derbyshire's not out there.
Well,
a big move to the high side. Here comes James South with, I do believe, Timothy Babcock in tow. Both of these drivers, as I mentioned, have a little bit. Well, I know. Wait, South doesn't have any damage, so probably the perfect driver to be leading that top line is McGinley. Tries to make a 3-wide move. Baton Sheik goes with him.
The teammates trying the high side. Is this going to cost them? We're now at under 4 to go in the stage. James South cuts up again with the help of Timothy Babcock. Reset in turn for McGinley and Sheath. Reset as well from Babcock and South. Anyone willing to go with? Yes, Matthew Kleinsmith wants to go lit to the top side.
Looks like the GridVision cars all lining up here, seeing if they can make a run at it, trying to get as close as to that bottom as they can to side draft. I think they might have a chance at it. I mean, they're getting some good runs on these straightaways, that's for sure. And if that bottom line bobbles at all, I think there's a chance that we could see South up there fighting for the lead by the end of this stage.
It's side by side for the 3rd spot now. 2.5 laps to go on the stage as they go down the Alabama Gate backstretch. Check up inside. No side trap from the inside line. This could open the door. Here comes 3 wide. Sheath and McGinley up top. And now James Self looking for the pole. Now they're breaking even. Little not going up for the pullback. Self losing ground though in the tri-oval. 2 laps to go on the stage.
Yeah, things starting to get really interesting here. How are the loyalties going to lie here? Will these guys stick with one another? Michael Little, though, right now in it, has the advantage. Bounty starts to drop back, I do believe, getting side draft a little bit here. Craig Ganzak going to try to get him back moving again. He gets back to the back end of Little, but here comes the top line once again.
Great run for South. He's got the push from Babcock and Sheath. McGinley forced back down to the bottom. Coming up to 1 to go in the stage. Little trying to hold on. McGinley trying to go to the top line to make it 3 wide on his teammate. That holds them back a little bit. Self not being held back up front. Sheath now pops up top. Jansek now to the middle. 1 to go in the stage.
Yeah, Janzak, big move. This is what I was talking about. He's trying to get ahead of Boundy so he can continue to build that points lead to put himself in better position at the end of this race. Oh, no! Michael Little, Craig Janzak, and they are wrecking. Caution flag is out. Janzak missing his front end. Also, Mark McFadden almost flipping on the apron here.
4 or 5 cars involved in the caution. McFadden with the meatball flag. And it's James Self, who is the leader, coming to the caution and to the stage point cutoff.
Wow.
So right now, it's Self, Babcock, Boundy, Kleinsmith, Jansek, Sheath, McGinley, Little, McFadden, and Platt amongst the point getters. That's still being shuffled because Jansek is in front of Kleinsmith without a front nose here as a result of this incident. And a lot to break down here as a result, Brian. This changes the complexion of the rest of this race.
No, very much does. A lot of fast spares going to be used. If some guys might not have had some, it looks like Faison just gets into the 3. Pushing the pusher, I think, in a lot of ways. Unfortunate. You know, a lot of drivers getting a lot of damage out of that. Mark McFadden, I think, the one that probably the victim here in a lot of ways. Of course, Janzak as well. Just gone wrong here. So take another look at it, a little bit from more of a bird eye. You can see Janzak right there behind the 99. And unfortunately, the 15 just gets into the rear, sends him down in to Little, as well as you see McFadden. I'm wondering how I think he had because it was a little bit of a secondary thing. Looks like Janzak and Faison kind of hit again. Oh, and there goes McGinley as well, getting sent down.
So here we go again. As a result, McFadden ricocheted hard upside down.
Wow. He gets style points for that, man. It's like he's breakdancing in that race car.
Pit stops underway just past the stage point. And with this caution, drivers expect to make it to the end on fuel. More coverage of GridVision Superspeedways coming up after this break. You're watching GridVision for GridVision Superspeedways, presented by First Coast Fleet Services.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to GridVision Superspeedways, where we spend Monday in a pack. Just Prince Prime Britt with you as we get ready to get back underway. We're about halfway through this one. And after pit strategy, Sean Bounty in the lead. With an 11-second pit stop, Michael Little. He's to second now, despite what just happened with the caution period. He's got damage on the right front fender. Matthew Kleinsmith has damage in third. Timothy Babcock damage in fourth. James Self, a clean car in fifth. Damage for Platt in sixth. Craig Yancek, clean car in seventh. And rounding up the drivers on the track sheet, significant damage. And Randy Post behind them with damage. Chad McGinley and Mark McFadden used fast repairs as well during the caution. So all drivers are still in the field. The question is, who spends this Monday night in victory lane? We're back underway, and Sean Bounty gets the go sign. Everyone else takes about 2 seconds to get the same sign.
Yeah, definitely looked like everybody else was kind of sleeping there. It's not a good thing for Bounty. Most of the time when you go catch everybody sleeping at super speedways like this, they get bigger runs on you because of the draft. But of course, looks like Kleinsmith's going to get to the back bumper of Bounty. The big run for the top side. Here comes Michael Little to possibly try to take the lead, of course, with the aid of Timothy Babcock, as well as Jonathan Platt up in the mix as well.
Drivers with clean cars trying to find a way to get around drivers with damage here. Bounty losing help. 3 damage cars up on the top, taking the top 3 spots. Michael Little back to the point. Craig Yancek, the cleanest car up front. It has a shot to make some moves 3 miles an hour quicker.
Is Little still got damage? He looks really clean, but I do now I'm seeing the cracks on the hood now. I just noticed that. So yeah, wow. Surprised to see him with such speed right now. But here comes Yanzak and Bounty up on that top groove. They're starting to make some hay. As 3 cars go down on the apron, what are they doing?
Martin Kleinsmith face on Sheath. Mark McFadden all went under the yellow line coming down the backstretch. They're able to hold on to it at least for the time being. But now, remember, all these drivers technically can make it on gas in theory. But at the same time, it's the matter of who's going to have their cars make it cleanly at this mark. After all, your cleanest cars are now 1, 2 on the outside line grouping. The other clean cars are all the way at the back of the field.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's not a lot of drivers. There might not be one single driver that has a fast repair still. We'll have to see if anybody's got one in the bank, and if another wreck happens and they still have one left, they could win this race as a result. As look at that, Yanzak getting some big pushes from Bounty. Bounty thinks about going down. Looks like they both go together to jump down in front of Little. Randy Post, very damaged race car, somehow making some headway up on top.
Yeah, the tough part is James Self is very committed to working with his buddy. The downside is his buddy has very little front aerodynamics. And here's the interesting thing. Sometimes you get a paint scheme you like to run with, and you keep it forever. You know how old that paint scheme is on Randy Post's car? 40 years old.
Oh, wow.
You know who
Definitely
painted
an
it?
old one. Who's that, you?
No, I'm not that good. Austin Derbyshire?
Is that right?
Yes.
Well, how about that? Well, it looks like he moves down to the bottom. Seems like that car's pretty good in the draft, I'll tell you that. I mean, even though he's got major front end damage, he seems like he's still capable of moving in the draft.
But in that situation, you need someone in front of you and behind you with the damage. If you don't have the in front part, that's very difficult to get friends with.
Yeah, 100%.
Bad news for Faison Sheath fans. Faison has lost the draft.
Ugh.
His car is only going 176 miles an hour on its own compared to the 200 in the pack. So Faison needs a lot to happen to have a shot here. He lost it, and quickly once he got shuffled in that exact same point. Once people left from behind him, no one able to keep him ahead, and speed means no speed.
Yeah, something very similar could happen to Randy Post. As we look on, of course, you have a camera coming off of Craig Ganzak's race car, kind of looking back at Boundy, and you can see a lot of wiggles throughout this group. But still a lot of cars in here capable of possibly winning this race. Michael Little has been looking fantastic all day long in that 93. Even with the damage, he's really fast.
I mean, I'll say this. It looks like he really, really, really wants to win at every means necessary. And so far, he's been not afraid to block. He's been not afraid to stick with the help of Babcock on the outside more so. He's been not afraid to block at every single lane possible. Now he's got a chance to try and get the run again. Now he side traps the inside line. No response for the outside group. Michael Little to the point. Does he drop down? Answer is not yet.
Yeah, I don't blame him. I mean, I would stay up there. I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, man, why didn't you jump down? But really the best thing to do, I think, is stay on that high side. I mean, if it's working, stick with it.
Or
those guys that are down there or up there are not going to appreciate you just dipping out on them. I mean, they're going to want it. They're going to really reward you sticking with them.
I wouldn't be surprised if the thought is get Timothy Babcock and or James Self with them too, and then you control both the lines, potentially.
No, that would be a different story for sure. You want to bring the guys that allowed you to get up there with you. But it looks like Little thinking about he almost had an opportunity to jump down there in front of Ganzak, but unfortunately was not quite able to. As both lines essentially side by side right now on lap 41.
Chad McGinley, he does not want to wait to go places. He just took a 3 wide trying to get around Mark McFadden, but nowhere to go from McGinley. And here comes the run up at the front of the group. Not enough for Babcock to clear again.
Well, Chad McGinley, he's used to running up front. If you see him in the Global Racing Truck Series, he's getting top twos. He's getting wins. I mean, he's just always doing something really awesome there in that series. And I think he comes into this series, he's like, hey, I should be in front.
Hey, what can I say? It feels good to be the race leader. Now it's not so easy to keep it here at Dega. And McGinley just got a little bit of a lift from McFadden. McFadden side traps him back in turn. See that the backdrop with the 3 wide, and that's now slowing up Kleinsmith as well. And at this point, Jonathan Platt is losing ground as a result too from all this. Kleinsmith trying to keep the pack together here.
Yeah, I mean, the top line in a lot of ways has disintegrated, as well as the bottom line has kind of just gotten to where it's 4 cars. Now they're all coming back together, accordion effect, if you will. But you can just see how fickle this pack really is. It's fragile. It could fall apart at a moment's notice.
23 laps to go now at this one. Frank Jansek leading just 4 laps so far tonight, by the way. Michael Little has led the most laps, in part with getting that outside line to peek ahead at the stripe, but more so because the Pied Piper ability we've seen at times. Now some bobbles up top.
Yeah, Babcock having some issues. Go ahead.
Was about to say, when you have to snake like that, that's when it gets scary with this car.
Yeah, I mean, we've already seen Babcock very wiggly already before, so doesn't seem like he's got a lot of experience with this race car, but he's doing fine. We could just keep it going in a straight line. Try to rely on that driver ahead of him as we see the top line once again getting that run on the front stretch. Of course, that's why Little's been leading the most laps, because they're getting the run at the right place.
Now it's the patience game. And at this point, mind you, this is where it's kind of to, again, that point of getting ready for the calm before the storm that we talk so much about. That calm might be really starting to form up here with the way this looks to be shaping up. The normal patterns of the lines have really built up now.
Yeah, and I think it is kind of a little bit of a calm right now. I don't think these guys are really racing as hard as they could be. But we're getting to that point. I think in the next probably 10 to 15 laps, that's when guys it's going to start to intensify quite a bit. And you talked about the fuel window being 45. That's big wiggles from South. Whoa, South
Well,
almost wrecked there. What a save!
that was
Almost took my breath away.
after a bump from Chad McGinley. And this, once again, you need to bump square. If you bump like this, that's how you cause spinnies.
Good driving though for him to keep that going in the right direction. That could have been terrible.
So
I wouldn't even mind seeing that from the cockpit camera. See how he kept a hold of that thing.
So at this point, though, the line's able to at least regroup. Down to 20 laps. Lap traffic might be a factor. After all, we only have the chance of one lap car at this rate. It's Faison Chiath, and he is being caught at a rapid pace. The leaders you see on screen, 193 miles an hour through the corners right now. Faison Chiath's max speed, 178 on the straightaway.
Yeah, this could be a little bit scary.
You know what could be scary? Look at this on board on the replay here from James Self. Let's see.
This is what a corner should look like. Until it. I think we're going to see the bump right here.
See how it's straight. No major troubles. Believe it would be the next time around. I think we went to one lap earlier. You know what just happened in the midst of that replay view? Faison Chiath was caught. Have you ever seen the terrified look of a field or heard those terrified screams when the lap car goes middle? Well, that just happened.
Oh my goodness. So he stayed in the middle?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. I'm surprised these guys got through that. I mean, why would he do that? I mean, that's just, you either stay on the high side or you go down onto the, or you stay on the bottom. I mean, the middle? Why the middle? That has definitely shaken things up. You could definitely see Timothy Babcock is now the leader.
Well, for the time being, though, is the big thing. Now, here comes Craig. Yancek up to the top. And once again, water is wet. Yancek to the lead.
For now, here comes Michael Little, 3 wide, up on the tippity top line, and it looks like South decides to go with him.
Now looking very high. Now in turn, the 3, Yancek, no friends. He gets shuffled back. Top line started to dissipate a little bit. Now the friends started to hook up on that middle grouping more so. Platt and Kleinsmith join in. You know who's up to third in all of this? Randy Post is now up there.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a car behind him, and he's got a car in front of him. That's what he needs, right? Mark McFadden definitely doing a good job keeping him right there in that third spot.
Top line disintegrating again. McGinley trying to jump on it. Everybody else said no thank you. Now in turn, Little trying to shuffle. McGinley does. Randy Post thought about it. Little tries to recharge. He tries to cut in front of McGinley. McGinley may have just given him a small break.
Yeah, that could have been terrible. I mean, Little almost went down there and got turned. I'm telling you, Little has been very, very aggressive. Oh, goodness gracious. Whoa. That was the closing rate he had on McGinley there was, there we go, big wreck.
Yancek gets involved. Kleinsmith crashes. Caution flag is out. And your points leader for the season has massive damage.
And he has already used his fast spare.
Yes, indeed. What happened here?
Oh, just a little tag there on the rear end. As Craig Ganzak was closing in on the 59, he tagged him in the rear just slightly. And it got the 59 all out of sorts. And unfortunately, they both went along for the ride as we're less than 15 laps to go. And, man, this is going to change the entire complexion of the championship, considering our points leader probably won't finish this race.
And that was a bit of a sharp cut to the right there from Kleinsmith. I don't know if that was what it looks to be, or that was while he was trying to correct that it inevitably just snapped right, because he was, before that point, trying to snap it left.
It could have just been a counter steer gone wrong, trying to catch it. Let's take a look. I think we're probably going to look through the cockpit camera here of Kleinsmith. You see Kleinsmith just falling behind Platt, gets a little bit of a touch there. Yeah, I think he was just trying to catch it.
Yeah, it went right on the crank left.
Yeah. She was just trying to catch it, and I don't think that was nothing he could have done.
Timothy Babcock staying out, as well as a couple others, including South and Faison Shields, who is in position for the Lucky Dog. Once those coming in, everybody else. Of note, though, Craig Jansek and Matthew Kleinsmith, mandatory damage. So their chances, at least for Craig, is done. Fast repair for Kleinsmith. This is why you keep it in the pocket in his case. But this is the points when we talked about. Now it's in Sean Bounty's court to take over this points lead if things stay, because Craig is now last. And if things hold, so long as Bounty finishes well in this race, likely ends up being the points leader.
Yeah, that definitely could be the case. And definitely interested to see Kleinsmith still's got that fast repair. Also, we saw Faison Sheik get his lap back, so good on him. That caution probably saved him.
Let's take a step aside when we come back. The run to the finish. You're watching GridVision, and GridVision Superspeedways presented by First Coast Fleet Services.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to GridVision for more coverage of GridVision Superspeedways, where we spend Mondays in a pack. Timothy Babcock, the race leader, over James Self. Those drivers stayed out on old tires. Everybody else came in for a top-off or for repairs and or for some fuel as well. Bounty McFadden, the top four. Behind them, green flags out. And McFadden bobbles all over the track. A bad start for Self as well.
Yeah, Babcock as well. I mean, it looked like anybody that was on older tires seemed like they had some wheel spin as they go into 1 and 2. Of course, Babcock still the leader. Bounty up on the rear end. You see South, of course, getting some big pushes from Little as they file onto the backstretch. There goes Babcock to the top. Big difference in momentum, and I think he realized that quickly.
Looking to try and block lines. Outside line has the run again. Self looking for the poke. Self has the chance to clear down if he wants to. Looks like he wants Little with him and does get him with him. Now it's Mark McFadden who builds it up top. Numbers not there on the bottom. Coming up to 11 to go.
Oh, and McFadden just barely able to get clear. And look at that. 3 people able to get down to the bottom there. And it looks like Babcock, I think, is going to move to the top with Bounty. They're going to try to build some sort of run here.
Starting to see it break down to the back of the pack, mind you. Of note, Kleinsmith, Platt, McGinley, Post, Chiath have all lost touch a bit to this main pack. They're going to need some time to regather. Timothy Babcock in turn. Going to be the bridge in turn for those drivers. 10 laps to go this time by. South now the leader. Michael Little, Mark McFadden, Sean Bounty all within a line. How does this now play out as the second pack reconverges? Or parts of it at least, because it looks like Kleinsmith ditched everybody else.
Yeah, Kleinsmith has a new race car, so very clean. He's going to probably try to see if he could possibly have a significant recovery here. Had that fast pair in his back pocket. He's going to go with Babcock. See if they can push each other to the front. As of course, South right now in control. Now, South has had a lot of races that have not went his way this season. Can this one go his way? As he moves up to the top with Little.
Now looking to block a few lanes. South on Little. Little electing not to make a move quite yet. Babcock getting a little bit dicey. Kleinsmith has a chance to clear down. Nearly side drafts the 99. And Timothy Babcock clears down right on front. Kleinsmith getting a push from McFadden in the corner. Bounty stays in line. Kleinsmith now looking for a place to poke.
These guys are doing some crazy stuff. I mean, they are. I don't think there's any give and take right now. As you see, Kleinsmith gets pushed out of the pack by Mark McFadden. A lot of these guys are not playing any games. They're starting to get physical now. As James South trying to control this. He's trying to control the uncontrollable right now.
That's not going to be easy to control, to say the very least, the rest of this way. Coming up to 8 laps to go now. Right now, 6 cars with a chance to win it. Ginley, Sheath, Platt, and Post have all lost 2 seconds. These drivers need a caution.
McFadden with some major issues. He just went down on the apron and went up to the track, up to the top of the track, almost hit the wall. He might be joining this second pack here. I think he's lost the draft.
So make it a 5-car pack for the race win, just like that. Coming up now, 7 laps to go. Looks like Bounty showing the nose. Caution, second pack implodes. Jonathan Platt, face on Sheath, we're under yellow. Randy Post is also involved. No front clip on the 54. And it looks like Post now having to deal with the meatball flag as a result here. Randy Post already claimed responsibility on the radio here, Brian.
Yeah, let's see exactly what he claimed responsibility for here. Of course, he was behind Platt.
Well, Platt's the one responsible, he says.
Oh! Yeah, you can definitely see that. I think Platt just gave a bad bump to the 15. Oh, and then we see post blows up. That's unfortunate.
Can confirm the 54 has just blown a motor in live action as well. So the damage picking up. Let's take a look from Platt.
Talk about don't push in the corners. I think that's exactly what happened here. And I think Faison was trying to check up to avoid kind of pushing McGinley through the corner, and unfortunately, I just don't think Platt got the memo.
However, the TV panel is gone on the 15.
Yeah, who got the worst out of that was Post. I mean, Post just got creamed as a result of that. Surprise Faison, I mean, still has a bumper on that race car after that. But here we go. Going to be less than 5 laps to go, essentially, to the end of this race. James South right now in control.
So now, all the drivers from that air pack electing to come down and get repairs done. So we're looking at a few lap shootout to determine how this plays out. And now, we'll see if anybody had the fast repair banked who didn't. Rather, not have them prepared. Why don't we talk with Randy Post here, as he was amongst those involved. Randy, do you have a copy?
Yeah, I'm here.
Talk us through what you've seen with what just happened there as you crawl on the apron to the pit lane.
I'm trying to make it. I saw a car, green car, flash of light, and yeah, that was it.
So right now, what do you need for you to make it to the pit lane?
Somebody to push me.
Unfortunately, the whole field's on the back straightaway, so have you tried Freddie Flintstoning it?
Yep, I tried. It don't work.
So now that you're now in the pit lane, how would you describe the night as a whole in the 54 car?
It's been pretty good. I'm hoping I can get out without being a lap down, but I don't think that's gonna happen. It's been really good though. I've had a lot of fun. Just kind of hanging out, trying to do some strategy, I guess you could call it.
So, in turn, the next time out, we do trucks at Daytona next week. How is your confidence level with trucks?
I love trucks. Trucks are like the only thing that I'll run on the asphalt side anymore. Because I'm a dirt guy. I run sprint cars in real life, and that's more my forte.
On that note, we'll let you get back to trying to push the car to the garage area. Well, technically, the car's in the pit lane, at least. We'll see how things play out. Do you have a fast repair?
I do.
Well, unfortunately, I have some bad news for you. You just got lapped.
Yeah. That sucks.
All right. If there's a yellow, you have a shot. That's Randy Post. He's going to take the time to speak with us during this caution period as he falls a lap down as a result of the blown motor. He tried. Unfortunately, he did not succeed in making it to the pit lane to get the fast repair without a motor. In turn, though, here's how things look for a 4-lap dash. James Self, Michael Little, Timothy Babcock, and Matthew Kleinsmith. Behind them, Sean Boundy, and then everyone else pit. Mark McFadden, Chad McGinley for some repairs. You also had Jonathan Platt take his fast repair finally. Faison Chiath, he had to get some repairs done for 1 minute and 5 seconds to tape on a new TV panel that he picked up from the garage area. Outside of that, we have Post currently off track, and Yancek is officially out of the race, Brian. Who's your pick? Only 4 laps to do it.
You know, I'm going with Little. I think Michael Little has had the speed to lead a lot of laps here tonight. Of course, he's got a little bit of front-end damage, but he's got, I think, the willpower and just the intensity and aggression to do it. I think he's made it this far. That's my pick. How about you?
I don't know. For some reason, I'm just thinking crazy finish here. And we've seen Platt go from back to front before. Something's telling me the 43. Well, keep in mind, he's already attempted that a few times and nearly done it a few times, but he's been damaged most of the race until now.
All right, we got to ask our producer now. I think it's on our screen, Timothy Babcock.
I think his confidence levels are high. After all, it's technically two First Coast Fleet Services TV-paneled cars, 1 and 3. Meanwhile, it's James Self in control. Remember, Self amongst those trying to come back after starting off slow in this series in regards to the points. Green flag is out. Can he get the job done for his first win of the season?
Getting ready to find out. Of course, bottom line having a much better run right now. I don't know. Little has enough room if he can get down in front of Babcock. He does not, though. Kleinsmith with a huge run behind the 93. He's going to get that top line really rolling. Look at him go.
That entire inside line left out to dry. Jonathan Platt up to fourth. Self drops from first to fifth in one stretch of corners. Now it's McFadden shuffled out. Bounty tries to work with him. Platt's gone all the way from 8th to 3rd in the span of 3/4 of a lap.
Hey, your pick has definitely got some good runnings right now. My pick's in the lead, though. Oh, maybe not for long as he somehow saves that. Big wiggle there.
Here comes Self. And now he's working with McFadden. 3 to go. Up to the point goes Self.
South jumps down to the bottom. I'd love to see McFadden win this thing. Man, he has definitely had some bad luck this season. Bounty trying to push him along. That top line is just wiggling all over the place right now.
All sorts of bobbles. Now McFadden to the point. Bounty falls. Nearly falling soon as well as Sheath. Sheath 8th at the start of the lap. Now looks to battle for 3rd spot. Here comes his teammate McGinley. Big side drafting, forcing both of them to slow down a touch, coming up to 2 laps to go.
Do we make it to the white flag as Mark McFadden leads this lap? Sean Bounty pushing him with everything he has. Based on Sheik drafting or trying to side draft. James South definitely trying to pinch him down there. Chad McGinley pushing his teammate to the 15.
Bounty already up to 2nd. Does he make a move for the lead? Self trying to force Sheath up. More checkups on the inside line. Kleinsmith trying to bring Babcock up to the top. They look to try and set up a run to possibly open the 3rd line. There they go out of turn 3 and 4. Not able to get alongside anywhere yet. Coming up to the white flag this time by Mark McFadden. Looks to try and hold off the crowd. One more lap to go from Talladega. Final time around in GridVision Superspeedways action.
And they are 3 wide right now for 3rd place. It's looking good for McFadden, but things change in a matter of just a split second here at Talladega. As you can see, Kleinsmith trying to make something happen on the tippity top. Faison Sheik in the middle. But it looks like I think the bottom line is going to prevail so far as they enter turn 3.
Coming out of 4. Bounty last time out. Shuffled out and crashed out from the lead last time. He looks for the win down the front stretch. McFadden goes for the block. Bounty goes for the point. Here comes the run from everyone else. Self tries to rip it along. 3, 4 wide, make it 5. At the line, it's James Self by 3/1000ths of a second.
What a finish. That was fantastic. 5 wide for the win. My goodness, and South, where did he come from?
And Kleinsmith absolutely committed to the bumper. And then, look at Jonathan Platt. He went all the way into the yellow line, technically there. Offset 5 wide of the stripe.
Oh, my. And 3/1000ths. I mean, Kleinsmith and South were so close in time right there. There were 3/1000ths separating those two drivers. What a finish. Hats off to these guys. Man, that was awesome.
So James Self picks up his first win in this series. It comes in start number 5. He hadn't even finished in the top 5 before tonight. You know what his best run was, though? Talladega in the trucks. This time, comes out with a victory this Monday night. Let's take a look at unofficial race results. Self over Kleinsmith by 3/1000ths of a second. Sean Bounty in third. Jonathan Platt comes home in fourth with Mark McFadden out in fifth. Timothy Babcock finished sixth, 0.2 of a second back. Faison Shia finishes seventh. Michael Little, he was one of the favorites all night. He finished with 32 laps led. He finishes in 8th. Chad McGinley in 9th. Randy Post in 10th. Craig Yancek is the only driver who DNFs in this one. So, as you can see on screen, a lot of love being showcased by James Self and his friends. And I'm not sure what he's trying to do at this point outside of go backwards. With that being said, we'll take a quick break. Post-race coverage coming up in just a moment. You're watching GridVision. Welcome back to post-race coverage for tonight's action. GridVision Superspeedways presented by First Coast Fleet Services. Justin Prince alongside Brian Britt with us, Darby Sharp producing. As we get ready for post-race coverage here in this one. A 3-wide finish. That's how things close out tonight. Still waiting on these drivers to make their way up towards tonight's coverage for post-race. But let's talk quickly with Sean Bounty, because he did mention before tonight of a potential long voice. So, Sean, how are you feeling third place tonight?
How's it going? All things considered, I'll take that as a win. When it's gonna sound coarse because my voice is all crappy, but when the only 4-car team out there makes it to the end of the race, and that team's at like half the field, there's no move that's a winning move. You're getting screwed one way or another. So just tried to make the best situation I could, and somehow got a decent finish. So it was a fun race. I'm happy with it. They're just sitting there thinking like there's not really anything you could do outside of them screwing themselves up. So they do what they had to do, and the rest of the field is just all out for themselves, kind of. So there's no organization to fight it.
If you don't mind me asking, what's the situation with your voice, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm just insanely sick. I'm kind of medicated right now, so I don't feel the vibrations in my voice talking.
Okay, on that note, then Sean will let you get to rest. Congratulations on the top 3, though. On the bright side, very likely chance you end up as the points leader now as a result of tonight.
Yeah, I thought about that for a brief second, but I was more focused one race at a time. It's just fun being out here. These cars are a handful, especially with the Gen 6. You really have to build up your momentum over the course of at least a half a lap before you can go anywhere. So one wrong move, you're just lose the draft or whatever. It was fun.
And then Sean Bounty come away in the 3rd spot here tonight. What was a very wild finish. 5 wide at the stripe. Second place is with Brian.
Matthew, definitely great job to you, man. 3 thousandths behind James South. I mean, I bet you thought you had it there at the last second, didn't you?
Yeah, I was pretty close. I didn't know who won there for a second. Finished that close. It sometimes takes a second, so that was definitely a nail biter.
Yeah, it was for sure for us. I mean, that was one of the most awesome finishes I think we've seen in quite some time on GridVision. For you guys to be 5 wide, I mean, what was the thought process going into that? I mean, it just trying to make a move when you could.
Well, I was trying to push James, the teammate there, to the win, and then 34 kind of went down, so he went to the right. And at that time, I had such a big run that I just didn't think, and I just went down the middle and just went for the open hole, and yeah, just went for it.
And you almost had it. I mean, it was so close. I mean, it was hard to tell visually from our vantage point who won, but of course the time, the clocks, of course, told us who exactly won. But definitely still a great race for you. I mean, I know at some points you had some issues, I think, with damage and things like that, but you had saved a fast repair towards the end there. I mean, how big do you think that was, considering? I mean, you had major damage there at the end.
Yeah, I had significant right front damage from that first wreck. I had to slam on the brakes to avoid everything, hit the wall, and then I got caught up. I don't even know who it was, rear-ended me there, and couldn't quite save it. And we wrecked pretty hard there, and I was able to use it then, and it really helped being able to save that fast repair. Kind of hung on to the pack there throughout the bulk of the race, and then used that fast repair in a good time, and was able to race hard there at the end.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what kind of gave you the availability, I'd say, to be there at the end. Of course, next week we're going to be in the trucks at Daytona. So trucks are kind of similar to this Gen 6, but Daytona a little bit different as well. What are your thoughts and prospects for that race?
I'm looking forward to it. I don't know that we'll get a 5-wide finish, but hopefully we get some good 3-wide racing and get to push a little bit. It was pretty hard to push in these cars tonight.
Well, knowing with how crazy you guys are, I'm sure we'll see some 3-wide. I have no doubts about it, Matt. But who can we shout out before we let you go?
I want to give a big shout out to First Coast Fleet Services for putting on the broadcast in the league for us, and then of course GridVision for putting on a good broadcast.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, Matthew, and you have a good night, and congratulations on the second place.
Thank you.
First place tonight, though, goes the way of James Self. James, the first time you're a race winner in this series. First of all, how are you feeling after this one?
I mean, ecstatic. I mean, y'all seen that finish? I didn't think I cleared it. I thought Matt got me or Sean got me, but how close was that?
3 1,000ths of a second.
Ew.
So talk us through that final lap, because lots of people got shuffled back. Lots of people, such as yourself, got shuffled forward there.
Yeah, before I went forward, I was going backwards, and I thought that was it. I linked up, I don't even know. I had my blinders on. So I was able just to pull through, and I think on the last lap going to the trial, well, like Matt said, my move initially was to split those guys 3 wide with the help of Matt, but Sean was coming down closing that gap pretty quick. The draft was still pulling me for me to slingshot him on the outside, and was able to get the dub by 3 1,000ths. But that was a wild race.
In turn, with this car, how would you describe the difficulties of the pack, or how would you describe in turn the package itself? Because it seemed almost like an in-between to what most people remember from the package.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. Those last like 2 laps, the 15 was on my outside, and as you can see, like, he kept on dooring me, first of all. Second of all, but he was there enough to just pull me, just to keep me back, for me not to go and get my run. And with that being an effect, I mean, you have to kind of almost play chess with it and set your runs up now, versus where the old package per se, or whatever package it is now, it's you just go, you get the draft and you go. There's no side force. I don't know. I honestly haven't raced official in a while, but it's it's a chess game, like every week, knowing the different combos of the cars that we choose and the tracks that we pick to race on.
So next combination, not the bring combination, we go back to the trucks, but it's at Daytona. 55 laps, stage at lap 20. How's your confidence level with the truck?
Truck would be my favorite. She's stable. I can get better runs than I can here in this package. I feel like I have more stability within that truck than I do. I think so far through this whole season is with just. I'm a fan of the truck. Let's just close it as that. So I can't wait till next week.
Any shout outs you'd like to give before we let you go tonight?
First Coast Fleet Services for sponsoring the season here. You guys at GridVision for putting on a show, and then also the Hippo Awareness next month. They kill about 500 people a year, so we're trying to push that out. Word's getting around. Hippos are vicious animals, so watch out, Prince. I don't know if they got hippos up there, but watch out, man.
I don't know what that means, but no, we do not have hippos in Canada. Unless
sure?
you talk about the mini hippos that hide in the walls.
Well, I mean, I don't know what kind of drugs you're on, but yeah, dude.
You haven't seen the old commercial from the 90s that used to have house hippos?
Oh man, you got me beat. I guess
it is something that Canadians know very well.
Sorry, but you're aware of the hippo awareness then?
Yes. What?
All right then.
Hippo?
Hip hop and modernist.
I'm so confused. Okay, James Self, your race winner tonight here at GridVision Superspeedways. Thank you, James.
Thank you, Prince.
I'm not sure what he was trying to get at with the hippos, but Brian, your thoughts?
I guess you just got to be aware of hippos. They are dangerous creatures. I mean, that's what they say. But, man, that was an awesome race. Get to see that 5-wide finish. I don't know if we're going to be able to replicate that. I mean, that was just great. I have a feeling that next week at Talladega is going to be great. Final thoughts as well. If you're watching out there and you want to join this series, please reach out to us on the GridVision Facebook. We'd definitely love to have you for sure. Of course, check our description below. You can probably see some of our social media links, and you can talk to us. And we'd love to see you out here. I mean, this has been a fun series to run. And we'd love to call your name out there on the track as well.
And in turn, after a busy night of action, there's plenty more coming up as well in terms of the broadcasting slate when it comes to GridVision. Let's take a look at the weekly schedule coming up. Remember, Twin Ring Motegi, that oval should be a fun one for the trucks in Champion. That's on Tuesday. Then on Thursday, Kansas Speedway SSRL Truck Series as drivers look to zip around the mile and a half Speedway in Kansas City. Then it's 3 times the fun with the half mile of mayhem. NIS Open on Friday. Sunday, it's Global Racing League and RGR's chase for the Kilo Glass Cup. All that, keep an eye on Friday through Sunday. Who's going to survive Martinsville? We'll see. On that note, I'd like to thank you once more for tuning in to tonight's coverage of GridVision Superspeedways, presented by First Coast Fleet Services. For my co-announcer Brian Britt, for our producer Austin Darbyshire, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your evening. You've been watching GridVision Superspeedways. We spent Monday in a pack. Good night.